Well, hi, folks, and welcome into this edition of This Week in Pearl. I'm Frank Hutton, your host. So glad to be joining you this week. Going to have an excellent program for you today. I think you're really going to enjoy my guest. His name is Chris Chisholm, our Pearl School Superintendent. So y'all stay right there, because when we come back, we're going to be talking about AI and school choice. So you're not going to want to miss this. We'll be right back.
Hello, I'm Mayor Wyndham, and I'm thrilled to show you the city creating its own future. Pearl is located in Rankin County, the fastest growing county in Mississippi, and there's no question why. Access to great schools, even better shopping, and unbridled beauty make Pearl a town that truly embodies its name. And with a truly exceptional team of first responders, public safety is another key component of our success. With fantastic housing opportunities from quaint suburban neighborhoods to gorgeous lakefront properties, there's a place for you here in Pearl. You can't beat the location. Right outside of Pearl is the crossroads of the South, where Interstate 20 meets Interstate 55. From here you can travel anywhere within the state or the country. Or you can choose to stay right here in Pearl to enjoy a Mississippi Braves baseball game or experience the small town atmosphere, community pride, and heart of the local residents.
Hello everyone, and welcome back into this week's edition of This Week in Pearl. Today I am joined by someone that I think you're going to find very fascinating. If you don't know him, you really should try to get to know him. He's a fantastic guy, our school superintendent, Chris Chisholm. Chris, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. It's been a while.
It's been a minute, and I always enjoy our conversations because they are very enlightening. There's a lot going on in our world that you're in touch with, that you know a lot about, and you always bring something cool and interesting to the table when we have conversations. So welcome.
Well, thank you.
All right, so before we get into a lot of stuff, for the people that may not know who you are, what you do, briefly tell everyone what your role is here in Pearl.
My role is superintendent of Pearl. This is my third year. I was the principal of the high school for 7 years and just transitioned into superintendent. It's been a fun run.
It has been. Has it been 10 years?
It has been 10 years.
Golly, have I known you for 10 years? Wow. I know, like, one of the first times you and I interviewed, we were on radio, and we were talking about the way you categorize students. And I always thought that was so interesting, the way you would have this room and you had a board and you could start identifying, and we don't have to really get into that, but that discussion was really cool. And so from there, I've always found you have some really neat ideas.
I appreciate that. And the thing is, every school tracks kids in very different ways, and that's just the way that we did it. I like being visual, so creating that room to where we can identify bubble kids or kids that are struggling, or kids that have high absenteeism. It's really nice to have a picture that I can put with a name and a face, that we can go and have conversations with if we need to.
That sounds great. It almost reminds me of, like, you see these TV shows, the crime dramas, where they have these, this mural on the wall where they're drawing the strings. And
it's a little bit like that.
It's kind of like that, because I remember you said there's like different, anyway. But a couple of things we want to cover today, primarily. One of which is school choice. It is a hot topic. I mean, right now, Donald Trump's talking about wanting to push in school choice, and I think all that sounds great. But it's more than just saying, hey, let's have school choice, right? I know the legislature had two bills that they didn't pass. I don't think they got out of committee. They haven't really been able to figure out kind of what they want to do. And I don't know. I'm one side of the fence, and then maybe I'm on the other side of the fence. Help us out. Help us out. Kind of explain to us the dynamic of what school choice actually looks like, because I know there's a lot going on there.
Well, there's a lot of facets to it, and to be honest with you, on the outset, when you hear somebody say that, it sounds like a great idea.
Sure.
You can choose your church, you can choose your grocery store, and those that aren't chosen just eventually go to the wayside. But I think the biggest issue that I'm seeing across the state is that when they start talking about choice and sending money, what they forget is the state funds that we get. That doesn't cover everything in the school district. Okay, so I want to make sure everybody understands that first. Every dollar that we get from the state covers about 73% of the teachers in our district. Everything else comes from local taxes. So when they say school choice and they're talking about opening up borders to where kids can go anywhere that they want, parents can send their kids anywhere that they want, they don't take in the fact that our local taxes are funding everything here.
That's 27%.
Yes,
of your
that's
budget.
27%. Well, you're talking about local taxes covering other salaries, the facilities that we have, the
the
nice
light
things
bill.
the light bill. Again, 73% of the budget. That's every dollar that we get from the state. Now, there's some ancillary accounts, but it's not very much. So I think the biggest thing is people don't understand that the money that we get from the state doesn't cover everything. We have to cover the rest locally. So whenever somebody else, if the idea of opening up borders, if we have 100 students that come in to our district, they're not paying, their parents aren't paying local taxes like you and I are. So I think that's the first thing. And then also, again, the devil's in the details, always, the things that could happen. And what we're seeing happen across the country as well. If you look at places like Arizona that have done this already, and they've been open borders for several years, and they said, well, it's not really going to affect anything financially for the state. Now they're talking about another $1.5 billion having to be put into this to cover it. So again, I think we can learn some lessons from other states on what to do and what not to do. And I'm not sure where this is going to land, but I can assure you there are a lot of domino effects with this down the line.
I'm Frank Hutton. I live in Brandon. Of course I don't, but for this scenario, I'm Frank. I live in Brandon, and I don't want my kid going to Brandon schools anymore. I want to send my kid over to Pearl because I really like Chris, and that's where I want him to go because I think they're a lot better. Now, I can just say that arbitrarily and all of a sudden he's enrolled. No, it doesn't work that way, right? Because what happens to I live in Brandon. I'm paying property taxes in Brandon. My school money is going to Brandon for my kid.
That's right.
So what happens if I just say, hey, today I want to send him to Pearl? Where does that money go?
Money stays in Brandon. The only money that Pearl would get is the money that comes from the state, whatever the base student cost is for the state.
So the state money would follow the kid, but
That's
the
right.
facilities money, all the other 27% does not. And then you're expected then to have a desk for that child, a teacher for that child,
computers,
all the stuff, ancillary stuff that has to happen for that child.
Yeah, so let's
how do you fund that?
Yeah, let's look at that idea. So let's assume that they do open up the borders completely, and we have an influx of say 200 kids or 300 kids in the district. As long as they were spread out, we could probably manage that. However, how do we know? We roll back in August, and all of a sudden Nikki Graham at Northside has got another 100 kids in her building that she wasn't expecting. Well, we don't have teachers for that. We don't have computers for that. We don't have books for those students. You see what I'm saying? There's so many things. Or let's talk about reverse. What happens if we have an outflux and we have an outflow of kids of let's say 200 kids, and it just happens to be 50 or 60 in one building or one grade? Well, in the end, we've already given out contracts in March of the prior year. We can't just fire teachers. Right. So you see what I'm saying? It's always that domino effect. It's all of those little things, and I say little things that turn into really big things for us on the district side.
So what's the solution? I'm sure you've thought about this. So what's the thought process? What's the solution?
Personally, I'm not a fan of school choice. I think out of the 7 ways that you can have choice in any state, we already do 6, and we have a choice. Parents can send their kids to private schools now. Parents can homeschool. There's already choices out there, and I don't know that there is a solution with choice involved in it. And understand, this came from a paper written in 1955 by Milton Friedman.
Right.
This is an economist that talks about the government's role in schools. So we're talking about something that's from 1955 that all of a sudden has taken off in the last several years. Right. And what we'll find is a lot of these people that are pushing for this, Empower Mississippi is one, for example. If they would go and look at real research, you look in Chile, that they have been doing this for over 40, almost 50 years in Chile. And what they found is that it really separated kids, and it separated kids based on how much their parents made. You look at these longitudinal studies and you find that the haves, they move. The have-nots, they stay. So even if you have a local school that's not doing very well, What ultimately happens is people move out of that, but the ones that can't afford to still stay there.
They're stuck there.
So,
right.
so again, I think we need to look at the research that's been done on this, and again, try to maybe learn from what other states have done, and see how that's going.
Sure, and I think that's kind of where I fall, because we have some really super districts like Pearl.
Yeah.
We're a great school district, and I would love for everybody to enjoy that school district. But I own home here, I pay taxes here, also I work here, but still.
Sure.
But I'm a resident of Pearl. I've had 4 kids graduate the Pearl school system.
Mm-hmm.
My wife graduated from Pearl. Her family, I mean, it's deep rooted here. So I don't want to mess that up. I hate it for other parents who live in a district that can't afford to move here. And Pearl is working on trying to get more rooftops, and
Sure.
that's a way of having school choice. Just move to that district, obviously. That is a way.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also parents who can't afford private school. There's also parents who are single that can't homeschool. It's those kids that I feel sorry for.
Sure.
In those districts. And how do we rectify that problem?
Well, I think that starts with MDE, and I know Dr. Evans. I used to work with him several years in New Albany, and I can tell you he's got some really neat ideas of bringing those districts up and doing things different in those districts that are having a hard time. I'm a fan of the quote that a rising tide lifts all ships.
I agree.
Instead of trying to shut them down, let's give them the resources and the help. And I
Sure.
don't mean resources as in money. I mean resources as in the things that they need, whatever that is. Every school district so very different. There's not a scripted plan
One thing
for
doesn't
that.
work in one area, it's going
That's
to
right.
work in another area. That's right. It's different. Districts are different. People are different. So you can't cookie cutter this.
That's right. I agree wholeheartedly. So I think the solution is really to focus on those districts, and I know Dr. Evans has got a great plan. I think you'll see some movement very, very quickly with him. He doesn't sit on things very long. So he's already got people on it, I can assure
Well,
you.
I can't imagine that throwing more money at it is the answer.
No.
Because that to me, that's never really solved a problem. Sometimes it makes it worse.
So I hear that a lot. People say, well, throwing money at things. But what you have to understand is resources cost money. So when somebody says we're throwing money at a problem, okay, well that money may be a counselor. You know, that money may be a mental health a professional that's in a district, or a dyslexia therapist. So it's not throwing money at a problem. It's allowing the schools to take that money and buy resources with that.
Well, it is what you hear people say.
It is.
You know, you're just throwing money at the problem.
That's right.
You know, and I don't think that people come out that are in leadership and actually deliver a plan that people understand.
Sure.
They usually don't explain it.
Right.
And this is where we're going to spend the money. I think that's part of the problem, and why we as just citizens look, oh, well, you're just throwing money at the problem.
Sure.
I know that's flippant, and we shouldn't be flippant with this, because this is a serious topic.
It is, and it's so nuanced too. You know, a child's education over the course of 12 years is it's hard to identify where things are perfect and where things aren't, and what works for kids. Again, we do the best that we can to identify kids, what they need, and give them what they need. Doesn't mean that we're always going to agree on that, but I can tell you we've got some really good people in the district that work miracles with kids. You know, and I'm very proud to say that my 2 kids have come through here as well. My daughter's a junior this year. My son, he's going to be successful doing what he's doing, and it's really because of Pearl Schools and some of the fabulous teachers that we've had over the last 10 years.
And I would concur, because I've had 4 graduate from Pearl, all of which have a master's degree or higher. So they've all done really, really well, but they're product of Pearl Schools. You know, and so the people that I know, like you, have had a hand in that, all the way from the principals that are there, the teachers that I know. They've all had a hand in that, which is why I said I don't want to mess up a good thing, you know, by trying to fix what's not broke here.
Yeah.
There's other places that need to be fixed, but what works for Pearl is not necessarily going to work for Jackson.
That's
It's
correct.
not necessarily going to work for Brandon. So I think it's really a topic that has to be fleshed out.
It does,
A lot.
and let me add one other one that we're seeing in other states as well, and that's sports. You know, when you open up these borders, I mean, do you enjoy what's going on in college
Well, of
sports
course.
right now
Yeah,
with the
of course.
NIL deals?
No,
And you think they're not
no.
recruiting now?
Of course they are.
You're seeing the same things in other states right now. If you go to places that have completely open enrollment, you can go to any school that you want. What you find is a lot of schools become IMG Academy. You know, you look at the state championship games for football in those states, and at every single division, the state championship game, 2 best teams in that division, right? in that entire division, the final score is like 70-10.
I know.
You know, so again, you have to, it's the domino effects that happen after. It's not, again, the idea sounds really good. It's just there are so many things that have to be taken into consideration when you do that.
Yeah, people aren't even thinking about that.
They're not.
They're not. And now, of course, I'm not an open borders fan. I'm for closing it and deporting everybody that's here illegally. I'm sorry, but you've got to go on.
Right.
Now, we could have that conversation, but
That's a whole different day.
We'll save that for a whole nother day. But school choice is definitely one that has to be visited. I'm on the fence, like I said, but I'm really, I think the more people find out about it, the more we talk about it, the more conversation we have about it, the more I think people are going to realize it's probably not a good idea.
It's definitely not a good idea. And I agree with you. And again, I think it's up to us as educators to get out there and explain these other issues. Again, even me, whenever it first came out, I was like, well, that sounds really neat. But the devil is always in the details.
The devil's in the details.
It's the domino effects that happen down the line that people aren't paying attention to. And again, if you just look in other states, I mean, Arizona's going broke because of the system. They said, oh, it's not going to add another $1. It has. It's added a lot. So I think, again, let's learn some lessons from them and move forward.
Totally agree. And we could get off on that. On that conversation, that would be here a while. But let's pick up something else that I know that you're excited about, that I want everybody to kind of talk about, because you brought some toys today.
I did.
And I want to talk about AI. Is a huge, huge topic right now. And there's a lot going on with it. You see Google's got one, Twitter X has Grok, they have one. But AI is huge. Open AI right now, ChatGPT, there's just a lot. Now, I dabble in it a little bit. My phone's really smart, smarter than I am, obviously. But I dabble in a little bit, being that that's my field. But I'm old school. I've been turning wrenches in IT for 30, 40 years.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of old school. I'm not new school, but you're keeping up with that. AI is huge.
It is.
It's here. I've been telling people that people were scared of it. I'm like, it's coming whether you like it or not. So you're going to have to understand how it works.
Yes.
And so you have actually been fortunate enough to give a lot of talks on AI. You've done a lot of research on AI. You're incorporating AI in the school a little bit, but you're really leading kind of the charge in the legislature as well. Can you kind of give us a little bit about the AI scenario, what's going on in that world and how it works, and kind of show us some of your toys?
Yeah, to be honest with you, this is you heard it here first, this is the new industrial revolution. It is going to change everything that we know and everything that we do. So again, this is why I feel like we in the education world need to be on board with this and teaching kids how to use it.
Right.
So in the end, I am going to the Capitol on Wednesday of this week and Thursday of this week to do a little opening for them as well of how it works. And really, the short version of how this works, it's all based in statistics. It's what is the most likely next word. That's what's changed with AI. We've had algorithms for years. 1997, we had our first computer that beat a human in chess. We've had, the AI has been around since the early 60s in some shape or form. What has changed the world is the language model. That was opened up in November of 2022. So again, we've had robots, we've had algorithms, we've had all of these things. None of them could think or reason. And we're getting to the point where artificial intelligence, using simply what I was talking about just a second ago, what is the most likely next word, percentages, they are getting to the point that they can reason and reason well. Again, if you're using OpenAI, if you're using ChatGPT, you're talking to a system that's got an IQ roughly around 140 to 145. So that's almost genius level whenever you're dealing with it. So it's going to be incorporated in everything that you see and everything that you do moving forward. So I think we need to jump on board with that.
And AI can make your life easier.
Faster and more
efficient, and I think that's kind of where we're headed, is it not?
It is, and there's a slide, and because everybody tends to ask me this question, is AI going to take the place of humans? And I answer that carefully. Jobs that are repetitive, it's going to take those jobs. People who use AI in the job world will replace people who don't use AI. That's coming because it will make you so much more efficient. I can tell you using this, using ChatGPT and several others as well, it has probably cut 30 to 40% of my time that I have to spend on things, from editing to, the good thing about OpenAI and using ChatGPT is that you can create your own. So if I wanted to have one that helped principals understand special education, I can upload and make that model do anything that I want to do with that. So the principal just ask questions and it gives them scripted answers just like that. So drafting RFPs and RFQs for us in the district, that used to be
it's a labor-intensive,
that's a 3 or 4 day job.
Yes.
Now I uploaded all the purchasing laws to a GPT. Now it takes us less than 15 minutes to do one. So again, it's just going to make you much more efficient, and I can tell you it's moving at an exponential pace, and I think that what people don't understand, people in general tend to see things very linearly.
Right.
We don't really understand what exponential looks like, but I can tell you in March, OpenAI created their first robot that could actually think and reason. It can see, it can understand, and I've got some videos that I can show you about this as well. So it actually reasons a little bit. Well, fast forward to August, now they've already created a line with those robots over in Spartanburg, South Carolina, to take into BMW. So basically those robots have taken over a complete line at BMW manufacturing. The difference is, robots before, you'd have to have a programmer.
Correct.
But these robots now understand language. So if they're doing something wrong, all you have to do is go and speak to them and tell them what they're doing wrong, and they'll make those adjustments on the fly.
Right, because used to it was basically a mathematician.
That's it.
Who wrote an algorithm.
Programmer.
Which is a programmer. A mathematician is a programmer. And they would write a program, script it out, and it would repeat that program over and over and over and over.
Yeah.
And if it was doing something wrong, the programmer had to fix it.
That's right. So we're moving extremely fast. This was, again, first iteration of that robot. All it was doing was some dishes and picking up an apple, and in just a few short months, now they're beta testing them on an actual line for BMW. So again, it's moving exponentially. It's coming.
And I think what you said is bringing that into the education side, because you said the repetitive jobs. You mentioned building a BMW. Welding the car together, putting the parts on the car, that is a repetitive task.
It is.
And there are issues because sometimes you don't always do the exact same thing over and over again, which causes failures in parts and et cetera. Not getting off that, but you're talking about teaching this, because instead of our kids being behind, you're trying to bring it on the front end. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
Without a doubt. We're trying to work this into our 10th grade, 11th grade, and 12th grade.
So what does that look like? Tell me how that
just teaching kids to use it and use it ethically. You got to understand they're more interested in, well, I want it to write a paper for me. Well, that's not ethical usage. Having it write along with you to make you a better writer, that's ethical usage. And so we're working to do that in a lot of our classrooms at the high school as well.
So they're using what, iPads or?
Yep.
To access it. What do they get to access on that?
They can access ChatGPT. We don't block any of those on the network, because in the end, some districts choose to block it. So you can block ChatGPT. What you can't block is the 100,000 programs that have an API key that still use ChatGPT. Right. So the chances are of you blocking it are slim to none.
Sure.
So why not open it up and incorporate it in what we do? Instead of a teacher having to grade 150 essays and it takes kids a week and a half to get that information back, why don't we use OpenAI to help grade those papers based on the state writing rubric or Heinz's writing rubric, and it grades it right there in class, so we can write 3 papers in a week as opposed to 1, and it takes 7 days to get that information back to the kid. You see, there are ways that we can be a lot more efficient.
So it's really about efficiency, but you're also, how is this helping my child, I guess, learn? And let me pose this question.
Sure.
Because being an old school parent, I don't have kids in school anymore. I've got a granddaughter on the way. But being an old school parent, when I went to school, calculators were rudimentary.
Right.
And teachers didn't let you use one. When I went to college and I had to take college algebra, algebra 2, trigonometry, statistics, all those, we had these wonderful TI scientific calculators, but they wouldn't let you use them. But now we're introducing it in class. So what's the difference here? I mean, I feel like I had to learn I had to learn the formula. I had to be able to
Yeah, sure.
demonstrate. But if I can ask ChatGPT right now what the formula is and it'll tell me, how am I learning that, I guess is my question.
Well, it's a 50-50. You know, that's not going to change. You know, the teacher teaching what's going on in class, that part doesn't change.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the part without the calculator or without ChatGPT, they're still talking about writing. They're still creating the things in class without it. So that part doesn't change. What changes is the back end. You know, how much faster we can get information back to them to adjust that writing is what's changing.
So
Does that make sense?
Yes, the dependencies are changing.
That's right.
Is really what it is. The dependencies are changing because back then, you know, we were dependent on basically a pencil, and I had to know the formula.
That's right.
Whereas in this instance, I'm depending upon the AI to tell me the formula, but I still have to know what formula to use.
Well,
is that right?
Well, we're still going over the formula in class. That doesn't change anything.
Right.
The
I mean,
formula for writing, you're still going
still
to
doing the same
have
thing.
geometry formulas. You're
Sure.
still going to have all of those
the
things. Are still
principles you
going
have
to
to
be taught.
learn. I guess that's what I'm saying. The principles are still the same.
Yeah, I think what differentiates this is if you use it the way that I teach it, which is you use it as it's the perfect assistant and the perfect search engine. I don't Google anything anymore, ever. I use OpenAI to do that, you know. And as far as being an assistant, again, it's there to help you write better. And don't forget, we have really good control over Apple products in our school using Apple's program, Apple Classroom. So in other words, if a teacher wants to lock a kid into Microsoft Word, they can lock them in. Kid can't get out. So the idea of them just being able to freely use it all the time, that's not what's happening, and I hope I'm getting that across.
I'm under. I mean,
So they can lock them into the writing portion of this. We are just using this on the back end to get instant feedback as opposed to waiting 7, 8, 10 days. Or if you're, I can't tell you since we swapped over to Common Core, Mississippi Core now, how many, it's just
Another topic
It's a
for
play
another-
on, it's another topic for another day.
Right.
But the point being is I can't tell you over the years how many parents that says, I don't understand this new math. It's different than the way that I was taught. And I'm like, well, now you have an instant homework helper now, whether you're in 4th grade, 5th grade, 7th grade, or high school. You think I can help my child with AP calculus right now?
Right.
Do you know how long it's been since I've had Cal 1, 2, or 3, or
Sure.
4?
How long as I have.
Yeah, it's been
Right.
a long time.
Sure.
So the idea is when she comes in and wants some help, now ChatGPT can help with that process. That reminds me, oh, okay, now I can actually work and help my child do what she needs to do. So there are just so many ways that it can be used. And it doesn't, listen, we're talking about education. I've done this for bankers. I've done this for attorneys. There are 1,000 different ways that you can use this in any business. In fact, my plan, if I ever find the time, is to do an open training for parents in the district. So I'd like to start with maybe junior high and then next high school, and then we'll see how that goes. And if there's a big response from it, then maybe open up a few more of those and let me do some training for parents on this, because it'll help them in their job and help them help their children.
I think that'd be very beneficial because I am an advocate for AI. I do like the idea and the concept of it, but I like where you're going with teaching it in school. I do think that's important because, as you said, a lot of those repetitive jobs that kids that don't go off to college, that is what they're going to do in life, those are going to go away.
They are.
And if you don't prepare them, and I like the fact that Pearl's on the front end of this and we're not on the tail end, we're not being wagged by the dog, we're leading, and I like that idea. So show me a little bit about some of these cute toys that you brought with you today.
I'll do that in a second. Yeah.
And explain some of this.
Let me tell you this,
Okay.
being on the cutting edge,
Okay.
I've been asked to be a part of a group that goes to Washington and New York, and we have several online meetings as well. We'll be meeting with the engineers from OpenAI. That's going to be a lot of fun, but basically they want some feedback from educators. There's 2 of us in the state, then obviously from other states as well. They want to get together and let's maybe talk to OpenAI about what our needs are in the education world. And then the second one is a trip to New York, and New York, they'll be bringing in the latest tech tools that use AI. So the idea is this group is going to try to backtrack and script something that comes down curriculum-wise to schools in the states. So I'm pretty excited to be a part of that as well.
So that's going to determine curriculum.
That's exactly what we're trying to do, is build something. Like, how does this look? We need to hear what other states are doing with this. And I will tell you this too, we are the only school in the state. We opened our own AI server last week. Kevin
No
Knuckles,
kidding.
yes, we have our own. So what's the difference?
Okay, tell me.
If you start looking at ChatGPT and some of these others, if we ever put a file in, we have to be really concerned about privacy.
Sure.
So we have to make sure that student names are removed, any identifiable information is removed. In opening up our own server that's completely offline, that looks just like ChatGPT, by the way, it's offline. So we don't have to worry about that. It's not connected to the internet in any way. So now any file that we want to put in, or if we wanted to put in, let's say 10 years of spending in the district and have it look for patterns that we may not see, or maybe we put in our addresses with students and have it create a new bus routing system
more
for us.
efficient.
Or scheduling. There's a million things that we can do with it if we have student and teacher names in it. So we got that fired up last week for the first time. So I'm pretty excited about that. We've been talking about it for months. Kevin finally got the stuff in, and he's done a fabulous job with it. And we actually have 3 language models downloaded right now. 2 of those are llamas, and that's what you're going to see on Facebook or Meta whenever, the new thing that they put on Facebook. That is, the language model is actually Llama 3. So we have downloaded 2 versions of Llama 3, and then we downloaded another one as well. That's pretty popular.
You're running it in-house.
We're running our own AI server.
Which makes it a closed system.
100%.
So you're not sharing data, because that's, here again, being old school.
That's right.
Doing this a long time. I'm not a big cloud guy.
Right.
And some of the department heads around here kind of fuss a little bit because, Frank's not a cloud guy. But I like things being in Pearl because I can go physically touch that box.
That's right.
To me, cloud is just somebody else's computer. And that's literally what it is. It's either Amazon's or Google's. It's somebody's. It's not mine.
Yep.
And you have a lot of, you do as well as the city. We have a lot of data that is your identity, it's everything about you, it's everything that's ever happened to you. And if we go put that on the cloud, what happens? Inevitably, it gets leaked out.
Well, and there are certain things that have to be on.
I know, and it's just, it's
our student information package like
Yes.
that. We have to have that. There's no way around that. There are certain things that and we don't put all data on it, but I can tell you a data breach for school systems is a big deal. Once you have identifiable information, they can get credit cards in your name and other things. So we are super cautious about what we put out and how we put it out.
And same here, because with the police department, we have a lot of data about me.
Right.
A lot. There's a lot of data about you.
There's something I need to know?
Yeah, there's a lot, right. There's a lot of data about me and a lot of data about you. But there's a lot of data there.
Sure.
And if that were to get a breach, then that's a serious problem that, of course, Kevin and I take very seriously. But I do think that that's a really good idea. Do you see that kind of going forward for most school districts?
I've got some things that I can't quite share right now, but I've been approached by lots of different businesses to try to make this take off in a different way. I'm not interested in making money off of this. I'm really, truly doing this to try to help. This could take the place, again, we're talking about money and education. If you know how to use this and use it well, it can probably take the place of 70% of the programs that we pay for currently. Okay. So the idea is teaching, and I've got a superintendent advisory group, and we've actually turned that into a tech group now. So we're building GPTs, and again, the idea is to get this slowly implemented across the district where every teacher's using it in some way. So I think that other districts are interested in it. That's why I've done a lot of presentations for districts across the state, all the way from Iuka all the way to the coast. So I've done a lot of presentations. They have an interest. Is that the logical next step? Yes. However, there are some things on the horizon that may help them with that to where they don't have to do it themselves. So we'll see how that goes. I have a meeting later on this month to discuss that.
About that very topic.
About that very topic.
That's pretty impressive. And here again, I like the fact that we can stick our chest out and say that we were first.
Yeah.
I do. Pearl sets the bar on a lot of things.
Yeah.
I mean, we have one of the best school districts in the state. We have one of the best athletic programs in the state. I know we were the first to broadcast, and I'm going to toot my horn. That was 16 years ago. But we're not following anyone.
Right.
We're always leading.
Well,
and we breed leaders out of our school district.
Right. It's so funny that all of this came about. This was just a hobby for me. You know,
Right, right,
this is quite
right.
literally,
This
this was a hobby that I started
Well,
6
this
or
was
7
my hobby
years ago.
too.
I got into this
Yeah.
to look, again, I follow
Yeah,
Elon and
sure.
some of the other big names, Mustafa Suleyman, some of the godfathers of AI. I've
Right.
been following them for years, and when I heard them talking about a language model, that's something completely
Piqued your
different.
interest
So
in it.
I was like, where can I put some money into the stock market on this?
Right.
Who's going to take over? So instead of the software side, which companies go up and they go down, they go up and they go down and fall off, I jumped in on the hardware side. So about 6 years ago, I put money in NVIDIA, Taiwan Semiconductors, all of these other hardware players for AI. So that's how it all started. And really these presentations started just by sharing with Kiwanis and then Kiwanis of Brandon. And then before it's over with, it just started spreading like wildfire. And I've been all over the state doing these. So it's really kind of funny how this worked out. It wasn't,
Very
it
passionate
was not intentional at all. It's just, it's been a byproduct of just, I guess, being a little bit of a nerd and having fun with it, you know? So you want to see the stuff I brought
I
with
want
me?
to see some of the stuff that you brought with you today.
So this is the first one. If you haven't seen this is called the Plod Note. There are a couple of things that it will do. You can actually connect it right there to the back of your phone, just like one of the, your credit card holders. Well, what it will do is if you hit this button, it will record your phone conversation. Not only, it actually connects to OpenAI, so your phone conversation is then stored in text form. So a couple of other things that will happen with it, it will actually create notes for you based on that conversation as well.
Like
if
a
you
brief?
want. Yeah, it's a brief. And you can use this in class too. So if you've got a kid who was in college and, professors profess, they don't necessarily teach and they go extremely
Correct.
fast, you can literally hit this button and just leave it here and it will take notes for you. So everything that the professor said is going to be scripted. Again, the second section, it will create a notes page for you. The third section of this is it will create something called a mind map. So the main topic will be in the center, and then you will see some things visually.
It does. Oh, really?
So yeah, this is connected to OpenAI. You can buy this on the TikTok shop. It's where I got it. It's anywhere from $79
Sure,
to $130, just depending on supply and demand. I bought this for about $85 myself.
When we went to school, we had the cassette recorder.
Of course.
As you said, professors profess. And I had several. They would get up, talk, and walk out. So I would take my cassette recorder and record the entire class, then go back to my room and transcribe that manually. Now, it helped me learn that way, obviously. But this is going to make it so much more efficient because now AI, I can put that in my ears and it can read it to me over and over and
That's
over
right.
again. And that's
and
pretty
script
impressive.
notes for
And script
you.
my notes for me.
Yeah, you
and
can't
give me probability of what might be on the test and what
That's-
might not be on the test.
and again, if-
where should I focus my attention?
Absolutely. So it's going to take
Yeah.
everything the
That's-
professor says.
That's a pretty neat device,
It
and it's
is.
only getting less expensive. What else you got?
I got a couple other things. This is called the Rabbit R1. And this is the first model of, and again, we've been talking about language models, right? Being able to talk back and forth. This is a language model that has now turned into an action model. So if we were going to order pizzas, right, for lunch here, I'd say, hey, how would we have to do that? We'd have to pick up the phone and call. We'd have to get on our phone and get on an app. We'd have, all of those require action from us, right?
Right.
This takes that action away. So I could hold this button down and say, I need 10 pizzas delivered to central office at 12 o'clock. Here are the makeup. It will actually place the order for me. You can connect it to Uber. So I need an Uber outside in 10 minutes and here's the location we're going to. So again, I don't have to touch anything. It does it automatically. And it will on the fly change language as well. And it's got a camera built into it. Again, this is not perfect, but it's a really good concept and it's only going to get better as they go.
Now let me ask a question about that. Is the language model stored here, or is it pushing it all up to OpenAI and then it's
pushing it off to a language
so
model
it's just
online.
taking that and pushing it up? Okay.
And again, all of that, everything that goes into this, your speech, it understanding what you're saying and what to do, all of that is connected to places like OpenAI.
Right.
So that is one of the first action models that we've seen. So
neat.
anyway, I bought that a while back. That was that's pretty neat.
TikTok shop again?
No, actually, you couldn't buy it. You actually had to go to the Rabbit R1's website.
Oh, really?
And you had to pre-order. I had to pre-order this, and it was probably took 6 months before I actually got it, before their first release date. So that was that's the second one I brought. I bought
Oh,
these
these are
two.
su-
These are pretty
super
neat.
cool.
These, as you can see, if you're looking at the camera, these are Ray-Bans, right? So if you pop this open and actually put these on, what you can't tell, and I don't know if you can zoom in close enough, but you'll see two cameras here. But these are connected to Llama 3, which is Facebook's version of a language model. So again, these look like regular glasses. They make these in other types and kinds too. It's not just Ray-Ban, but these work exactly the same way. You simply say, and I'm going to take these off, otherwise it's going to start talking in my ear. You say, "Hey Meta," and then ask it a question. And this is no different than using Siri, using all of these others that we use anyway. They're just built into glasses now. So it's really, really neat to see. You know, you ask what the weather is. You can ask basically anything you could ask a language model, you can ask these, and it will give you an answer in your ear. A couple other things as well. There's a little button here on the top, and I can click the button one time, and it'll take a picture of anything that I'm looking at. Or I can hold it down, and the little light will come on, and I can actually videotape anything that's in front of me. And what's really neat is you actually charge the case and you put these in, and now you can see that green light's coming on. They're charging now. So anyway, those are three kind of tech toys that I share with people when we're walking around. It's really neat to ride down the road. It'll do text messages for you. You can just, and again, all of these are audible. They connect directly to Llama 3, which is Meta's version of that, and it'll do whatever you ask it to do.
No, that's pretty incredible, and I can see a lot. Now, being in this world, Google Glass came out years ago.
Yep.
And it was very expensive. It was almost $2,000 for Google Glass, and it was very rudimentary.
Right.
This has come, and that was 15 years ago.
Yep.
This has come a long way.
It has.
And I put them on, just so people will know, I put them on and was asking about the weather and who my guest was today, and it's very, I think, helpful.
It can be.
Because I could see driving down the road maybe as an older individual, not knowing exactly where I am in a new town, and I'm having to look, or the wife's telling me, hey, you need to turn left here. I can see where that would be very beneficial just in simple directions.
Absolutely.
How do I get to that pizza place that I want to go to?
Yep.
And it would take me there.
It will.
It would. That's really
So
cool.
it's really, really neat. Again, these are, and these used to be somewhere around $600.
Right.
They're nowhere close to that anymore. They're about, what you can buy a pair of Oakleys for. These are about the same price.
I was fixing to say, that's the Ray-Ban.
140,
I'm sure
150.
there's other sunglass manufacturers, or there's glass manufacturers right now
Yeah.
that are putting the language model connectivity in the glass. I'm
They
sure.
are.
You don't have to buy Ray-Bans.
And those, just so you're aware, those connect to your phone as well
Sure.
via Bluetooth. So
Right.
It's actually using your internet to get out to those
to get
language
out to
models.
the,
Yeah,
to the world.
Same way.
Same way. Right. You have to have some type of way to. This harkens me back to Dick Tracy or Get Smart,
Oh,
where
yeah,
I'm talking about.
yeah.
I'm talking on my phone. I pick my shoe up and I dial the number with a rotary dial on my phone. I mean, this is where we are. Mm-hmm. When the watch came out, everybody's talking about the Dick Tracy watch. Oh, it's a smart watch. This is just taking it to that Mission Impossible level that you see in the movies.
Yeah, and it's growing exponentially. Everything, every company is incorporating AI now. So again, it's coming like a freight train, whether you like it or not, whether you agree with it or not. I'm not asking you to agree. I'm just telling you
It's coming.
It's coming.
Prepare yourself.
That's
It's here.
that's right. So
in our world, Moore's law said that hardware was obsolete in 18 months. What do you think?
I can believe that.
What do you think it is today? That was 30 years ago. What do you think it is today?
it depends on what you're running.
I know, right? I mean, now we have Raspberry Pis.
That's right.
That are just tiny devices that run more computing power than what they had on the space shuttle.
That's right.
This phone has
much more power
than what they had on the space shuttle. I mean, it's incredible. But Moore's law said 18 months. I mean, it really exponentially growing fast. I mean, exponentially is this curve that just looks like a spaceship taking off.
And all you have to do is look at TikTok, look at Facebook, follow the right people, and you will see. Again, go to OpenAI's website or get on YouTube and look up OpenAI's robot. It's called Figure 1, and then there's Figure 2, so that's the second iteration. So you will see the difference in just a few months, what they've done to this robot.
Right. I've been following Optimus with Elon's, and how it's progressed, and then of course the one that MIT has, where they had the dog first, and then they built Atlas, and then it's amazing to see it do the parkour course, you know, and it's one leg balancing, jumping, and
Yeah.
spinning, and it's just amazing. But
Well, and
it's
I think-
thinking, and it's logically thinking its world and what the surroundings are, and
they've been working on those for years.
I know, right?
It's understanding the world. The difference now is you can talk to it.
Right.
And it can reason.
I know.
You know, we're right on the precipice of artificial general intelligence, which means...
That's what I was gonna ask.
Which
My
means
next
that
question.
it can reason and think for
Yeah.
itself.
When-
and
when-
we
when
are really, really
when does
close
it
to
become
that.
self-aware? When is it Genesis? When is it Terminator movies? I mean, when is it that? Because people always are scared about stuff. You know, Hollywood blows all this up, and they, you know where I'm going with that.
I do.
What do you think it is? I read papers years ago about, you know, the speed of thought. At what point does the speed of thought recognize itself and become self-aware? At what point?
I don't know, but I can tell you this: we're climbing closer to that every single day.
Every single
If
second.
you watch what's happening in this world and pay attention, we're moving toward that quickly. And people ask all the time too. I went to Washington and presented up there and met with some different groups this past year. They're not going to regulate this. You know, that's the thing. I think everybody is hoping that the government steps in and does something, and I just don't see that happening because other countries aren't regulating. They may regulate what you can do with it, but they're not going to regulate the technology. And I think that's the point. The government's already taken OpenAI, their newest language model that they've been working on. The government's already using that. Like it, and again, its estimated IQ when it comes out is 160.
Wow.
So, do you know whose IQ? What famous person was 160? Albert Einstein.
I figured say Einstein. Right.
So again, these things are extremely, extremely intelligent. They can process so much. People don't understand the billions and billions of inputs that are coming in every single day to these systems to make that system better. You know, and you've got engineers on the back end that are playing with settings to make it better, but the things that you ask, the things that you say, the thumbs up and thumbs down that you give, that's a part of making this system smarter and making it better.
Yeah, it's all part of our metadata.
Yeah,
we're being deduced to X's and O's,
of course.
ones and zeros, which is insane.
It is.
We could talk for hours about this subject, so we're going to have you back.
Anytime.
Because I know that it's something that everybody needs to gear up on and learn about more. I'm excited for the future. I really am. I think people are scared too, and they can be. Change is hard, but I come from a change industry, so I'm used to change. Change happens every day, so it doesn't bother me. It bothers a lot of people, and I think this has been a way to try to help people understand, and that we're teaching our kids.
Yeah.
Hey, this is what's coming. It will be. I mean, you can hand your phone, my phone, to a 12-year-old right now, and they can probably do more with it than you or I.
Without a doubt.
Without a doubt. So it's definitely here.
And
to
they're
stay.
going to be using this, whether you like it or not.
They
so
are.
we might as well teach them the right ways to
Right.
use it.
ethically.
And we've got some teachers that have done a fabulous job at the high school. And again, we're not talking about using this in the middle school. Teachers, yes. Kids, no.
Right.
We're really focused on 11th and 12th grade year,
Right.
and teaching them the ways to maximize what they're doing. Well, why is that a bad thing?
Sure,
That's
not.
if it can make you more efficient, be more efficient.
Right.
That's going to help you in a job in the future. And again, it's going to take some jobs if we're not ready for it. So
Do you ever see the AI teacher?
maybe.
Do you see that happening?
I don't think it's going to take the place of a teacher.
Not the place of, but like part of, like in the classroom, being, part of the class and giving a lecture or discussing.
Absolutely.
And taking questions. Do you see that happening?
Absolutely. I don't
that
think
here
that's out of the.
soon? Is that here
I think that's
soon?
sooner than later. I think this will also help to script better ways to serve individual students.
I mean,
too.
kids are used to doing video calls and
Yeah.
Zoom calls. Why not be able to do that on their smart board?
Oh, and there's some companies that are already running with this. So
see that.
it's an interesting world, and it's moving extremely
Boy, we could
fast.
talk. Thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome.
This has been eye-opening and fun and exciting, and I love all your gadgets.
Well, that's
Inspector
part of
Gadget.
that's part of the, and I'll say this too. That's part of the presentation. I think when
Sure,
you get your
sure.
hands on some of this and see
Yes.
that it's not all bad, and what I found across all of these presentations is that people are a little bit scared of it, but once I show them how to maximize it, how to use it, the things that you can do with it, their eyes just light up. And I don't care if you're 15 or 65, it doesn't really matter. They're just, oh my goodness, I didn't know it would do that.
Right.
You know, you want to create, again, for bankers, you want a stock ticker that it will tell you every piece of information on the internet. Let it do it for you. I'll create one for you.
Yeah.
You know, if you're a lawmaker, again, I did this for some legislators in the last couple of weeks. So I created a legislative one that all they have to do is upload a PDF of the bill, and it will give you a quick summary of the bill. It will also go out and do market research in your area and tell you the pros and cons of every single bill that's out there. Why wouldn't you use that? How long would that take you to do on Google?
Days. Because you'd have to you'd have to get the information, then you have to read it.
That's right.
And AI can actually discern it for you and get it down to a brief.
Perfect assistant, perfect search engine. So again, the outcomes aren't perfect at all the time. So again, you need to go back and double check the sources, see where it's pulling its source from. But there's a million things that you can do with it that just make you more efficient.
I use AI a little bit on my search here on my phone because it does make it a little bit more efficient. I don't use Google anymore. I use an AI just like you do because it will return that, and it shows the sources, you know, right below there if you're reading it. So very cool conversation. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
I'm excited. This is I'm break. I'm ready. I'm all hyped up. Thank you, Chris.
You're very
welcome. Wow, what a conversation this has been. We're going to step aside just a second, and when we'll come back, we're going to highlight a little bit what's going on in Pearl this week. We'll be right back.
Hello, I'm Mayor Windham, and I'm thrilled to show you the city creating its own future. Pearl is located in Rankin County, the fastest growing county in Mississippi, and there's no question why. Access to great schools, even better shopping, and unbridled beauty make Pearl a town that truly embodies its name. And with a truly exceptional team of first responders, public safety is another key component of our success. With fantastic housing opportunities from quaint suburban neighborhoods to gorgeous lakefront properties, there's a place for you here in Pearl. You can't beat the location. Right outside of Pearl is the crossroads of the South, where Interstate 20 meets Interstate 55. From here you can travel anywhere within the state or the country. Or you can choose to stay right here in Pearl to enjoy a Mississippi Braves baseball game or experience the small town atmosphere, community pride, and heart of the local residents.
Welcome back to This Week in Pearl. I'm your host, Frank Hutton, and what a fantastic conversation we just had with Chris Chisholm, our Pearl School Superintendent. We just did a deep dive into school choice and what that really means. I mean, we throw that banner around of, hey, school choice, and oh, that sounds great, but what does that really mean, and how is that really going to work? So it was a really good conversation, fantastic information, and we're definitely going to have to talk about that more. We also discussed AI and what that looks like in our lives and how that's going to affect us going forward, and even in the classroom what that looks like. He also brought some really cool toys, and those were really fun to play with and to learn about. So I really appreciate that, Chris. Thank you so much for spending some time with us today. Fantastic and very knowledgeable. All right, so what's going on this week in Pearl? Well, Pearl's going to travel to Brookhaven this Friday the 13th. I know, Friday the 13th, but we're traveling to Brookhaven. Pearl will be playing down there, playing the Panthers. Kickoff is at 7. Gates open at 5:30. So if you can, travel to Brookhaven, support Pearl, be a pirate and support them, show your school spirit. They would really love to have you there. Also, coming up, Trick or Treat Street and Christmas Parade sign up has opened. So you need to go to our website at cityofpearl.com, go to City Events, click on the link there. It will take you to the page where you can sign up for your booth or for Trick or Treat Street, and you can also sign up for your entry into the Christmas Parade. So make sure and do that. On the 19th, if you're looking for a creative way to do something fun, the 19th in the Senior Services Center is a sip and paint event. So if you want to be a part of that, it's a great, wonderful thing. They supply the paint, they supply the canvas. Bring yourself, and it's also a BYOB event. So it has to be 21 and older. Can't bring anyone younger than that because there's alcohol involved. But do come September 19th. If you want more information, call 601-932-3503. You can grab your tickets. It's $35. Also, September 21st, Junior High Night Out. That's going to be held in the community room in City Hall at 6:30 p.m. free event open to junior high students only. There will be security provided. They are screening the movie If on our big 4K video board in the Gold Room. It's going to be a fantastic night for junior high and parents. It's a way to have a little bit of time to yourselves where you can go out on a much needed date, I'm sure. But junior high night out on September 21st. Other than that, stay tuned for city events. If you want to keep up with that, be sure and text 91896. You can text that and join our text service, as well as follow us at cityofpearl.com, Facebook page, and YouTube. Watch the games on PMB Channel 20 on Comcast, as well as Roku and Amazon Fire Stick. So you can catch us pretty much everywhere. So until next time, folks, I'm Frank Hutton. Y'all have a great week.